why we get trigger points anyway, coming up next. Hey Free Body community, Cat here in Asheville, and today I wanted to cover why we get trigger points in the first place. So I recently did a video on what trigger points are, and now I want to talk about why we get trigger points. Why do we get those focal points of tension in our muscles that actually cause weakness, pain, autonomic nervous system responses like dizziness, sweating, nausea? All of that can come from trigger points in your body. So I'm going to cover these six reasons why we commonly will develop those focal points of tension, those hypercontractile units in our muscles. Overload, too much force. That means that you're working too hard for what the muscle can do. Right? So there's some sensory receptors in the fascia and in the muscle going, whoa, that's too much. I'm freaking out over here. And it's going to cause the muscle to just go like inside, right? So too much force means like you're trying to lift something that's too heavy for what the muscle's capacity actually is for that job. So overload, too much force, too much contraction, doing too much with that muscle, right? Disuse, allowing the muscle to get weak, big reason why I see people get trigger points in their muscles. So one of the subscribers, one of you asked me, you said, well, you talk about how we get trigger points in our outer hip muscles from crossing our legs. That's a disuse. That's allowing the muscle to get weak because muscles that are pulled long are weak. They get weak in that position. That's a disuse. Same with your back. Rounded forward, back muscles get long and weak. So the subscriber said, well, what about this? Like, could it be also from holding it too short? Well, in any situation, holding the muscle too long or holding the muscle short, either one of those conditions, that's like disuse. It's not how it's designed to be used. We are definitely not designed to sit or be still for long periods of time throughout our day. So often what happens, like one great example in the back muscles get weak over time from slouching. They get pulled long, they're weak. Then just trying to sit up tall. You see my video on active posture and you're like, oh gosh, Cat's telling me I got to sit up. Okay, I'm going to try to sit up. But then after a while, it starts to ache, right? It starts to ache partly because the muscle is responding and partly because the fascia, the connective tissue, is also responding. So trigger points get lodged in the muscles when the muscle has become weak, and then you go to activate it and use it, right? My weekend warriors out there, you know what I'm talking about, right? You like sit all week and then someone says, hey, we're going to play a pickup soccer game. You're like, I played soccer 20 years ago. I'm awesome. I can do that. Maybe you can, but if you just go hard after not using those muscles for a long time, you're going to feel it and you might be limping off the field. And that is disuse, activating trigger points in your muscles. So number 3, overuse, using the muscle too much without rest, without rolling, without foam rolling, therapeutic rolling, self-trigger point release, self-myofascial release, or stretching. You just use the muscle, and then you don't take care of it afterwards. You're not giving it enough time off. Maybe you're like, okay, I'm in my 40s, I need to get fit again, so I'm gonna work out every single day, right? And I'm gonna just go hard. Not a good idea, you gotta train. Part of training is that giving the muscle time to repair, giving the fascia time to repair, and making sure that the muscle isn't just like spazzing out in there, generating a bunch of trigger points because you're using it too much, right? Overuse, not giving it time to rest, not giving time for recovery, not stretching. Engaged stretching does really well, helping the muscle to elongate and can help release trigger points. Now, abuse, passive stretching, improper stretching, mashing too hard on your muscles, just abusing your muscles, that can also lead to trigger points. So I want to talk about the difference between good stretching and bad stretching, improper stretching, right? Good stretching is either just holding a stretch for a short period of time or engaging the muscle a little bit as you stretch. That means that maybe you stand in a doorway, press your hand in the door a little bit when you want to stretch your pecs, and then turn away, but you keep that hand pressed in a little bit. That's going to engage the muscle. Engaging the muscle while you stretch kind of lets your body know, okay, I'm here, I'm present. You'll go deeper in the stretch, and your body, your sensory receptors are reading that, and the muscle isn't going to like contract, usually in trigger points, that gets stuck in trigger points, to protect itself, right? So proper stretching means engaged stretching. Improper stretching means you're just like pulling on it, pulling on it. You ever do that thing where you lay on the floor and you're like, I'm gonna stretch my hamstrings, I'm gonna stretch my hamstrings, and you're pulling like crazy, but you feel like you're getting tighter because you are getting tighter because the muscle's gone, oh crap, what the hell is going on out there? And it starts contracting, and that contraction gets stuck as trigger points. Then you have a hamstring injury, right? Improper stretching can lead to muscular and fascial connective tissue injury. So that's like abusing, using a lacrosse ball, using too hard of a ball to release your muscles and release your fascia. Again, your body's like, uh-oh, what's going on out there? That's too hard. A lacrosse ball is like a stone. And I did a video about why not to use a lacrosse ball. I could talk about that all day. I could give you even way more information about why not to use a lacrosse ball. If you have a lot of tissue and it's the only way that you can feel some pressure in your body, go ahead. But that's maybe like 1 in 100 people, literally. Use a softer ball. There are sensory receptors in your skin, just deep to your skin, in the fascia through your whole body, in the fascial envelope that's wrapping all your muscles. They are meant to detect an invader. Too hard of a ball, too hard with a percussion massager. And there's many instances, there are reports of people injuring themselves with percussion massagers, using that bullet and hammering away. Love your body, be sweet to it, be kind. Thank you, body. Hammering like get out at your tension does not work. That's abuse. You're abusing yourself, you're abusing your tissue, and that's going to lead to trigger points because the body's going to be in there going, oh, trying to protect itself from you. So don't do that. Be sweet, be kind, engage stretching, massage sweetly, gently. It's going to get you so much further. Trust me, we're going to talk more about that another time. Misuse. We also get trigger points when we misuse our body. So we're using the wrong muscle, or we're limiting its mechanical advantage. Here's a classic example. I've seen so many people who come to see me, they're in the car, they got a kid in the back that wants a snack or is trying to hand them the iPad or whatever, right? They're reaching back, right? As soon as you take your body in a long stretch, your muscles have lost their mechanical advantage, right? Think about holding a bowling ball here. That's easy, right? Ish. But you hold it out here, it's so much harder. Your muscles will tire so much faster because they've lost their mechanical advantage. It's like, it's about physics and fulcrums, right? So if you are trying to pick something up in a big stretch, or you have a bunch of, you're using the wrong muscle because some of the other muscles have gotten weak, or they've gotten loaded with trigger points and so they've gotten weak, and so you're using the wrong muscle to do the job, that's not the way it's designed to work. So if you are in a lot of stress and your psoas muscle is all jacked up in tension and it's just in there kind of crippled with trigger points, your other hip flexors, maybe the rectus femoris, which is one of the quadricep muscles, is going to start working extra hard to lift that leg forward to keep you mobile. So as in they're freaking out, rectus femoris taking over the job, it's not really designed to be such a main hip flexor. It's going to get exhausted over time. So misusing your body, taking your body out of mechanical advantage, that's going to make the muscle contract to protect itself, trigger points, right? And the last thing I want to talk about is trigger points in other muscles cause trigger points in other muscles, right? So trigger points in that psoas causing trigger points in that rectus femoris in our previous example. Some muscles directly correlate with trigger points between each other. So gluteus minimus on the outer hip can activate trigger points in quadratus lumborum in the low back, right? Quadratus lumborum lifts the hip, gluteus minimus medius pull down the hip. They're in a little tug of war. If gluteus minimus or gluteus medius get loaded with trigger points, almost guaranteed quadratus lumborum is going to have trigger points. That's low back. So low back and hips will often get in this dysfunctional pattern. When one gets unhappy, the other muscles are going to get unhappy and also get trigger points. Here's another confusing part about trigger points and muscles, trigger points in one muscle causing trigger points in another. We've talked a little bit, and we're going to talk more about pain referral patterns, right? Like that gluteus minimus, for example, can cause a radiating ache down the iliotibial band and into the outer shin. Well, what's so interesting is that in that area of the pain referral, satellite trigger points can develop in those areas. So you might end up with trigger points in the tissues in a pain referral area, which can make it really confusing when you're trying to release your trigger points and you're like, I push there, it feels really tender, it feels like I'm doing the right thing, but then it's not, right? So helpful to understand pain referral patterns. We're going to put out a whole playlist about those and have some really good conversations. But, learn, where does your body hold its tension? Try to not do these things, right? Don't use too much force. Don't overwork out a muscle. Don't just use it, and then not take care of it. Do some stretching, do some rolling, give your muscles time off to repair and rest. Don't allow your muscles to get weak by not using your body and sitting too long and being still too long. Don't stretch just pulling and yanking on everything. Like, little engaged stretch, soft rolling. Use the flat head of your percussion massager so you're not beating your body and causing trigger points. Don't do big, heavy loads with your body reached out in all directions. Like, keep those heavy loads close to your body. And then learn about pain referral patterns and learn about muscles that work together. And when you do have a muscle that's giving you trouble, work all the muscles that do the same job, and then do some release work in all the muscles that do the opposite job, because they're all affecting each other. So this stuff all comes up in just everyday life, but also in injury. An injury would be like overload or too big of a stretch, like suddenly you slip and fall, blah, right? Too big of a stretch or too big of a force. That's how injury creates trigger points. So I trust that you found this information to be helpful. Just the more you understand about your body, the more empowered you are to take care of your body. I'm Cat Matlock here at Free Body. I'll see you next time.